Convoy Duty, written by Something Touches Back. Talon Commander Rackus clicked his beak with annoyance as his aide adjusted details on his rarely used dress uniform. He hated the way they constrained his plumage. He hated the reminder that he had diplomatic as well as military duties. He hated that today, those diplomatic duties included having tea with Fleet Advocate Ru'ul on the human civilian convoy flagship. Humans were notoriously pacifistic, but John R. Ru'ul rose to the rank of Fleet Advocate over the particular convoy by being a zealot on that topic. Humans divide the galaxy into 3 zones. Near Earth, the stars within 100 or so light years of Earth, between which there have been no interstellar wars in anybody's memory. Far Earth, the space more than about 1,000 light years from Earth, where human explorers are few, and Rackus would not denegate the space in between, where his people lived, by calling it by the human name. In this sector, human merchants and proselytizers move through a dangerous pace of violent aggressors, all the while depending on the allies like Rackus's people, the Ossen, to protect their convoys. The Ossen had once been an aggressive, expansive, and imperialistic as everyone else in the sector. But 30 or so years ago, a young commander named Philip Plume made a name for himself by successfully defending a planet of civilians, a mix of Ossen and humans, against overwhelming odds. He always attributed his victory to extraordinary good luck, but nonetheless, he is now Admiral Philip Plume. Ever since that fateful battle, he has proudly worn the mantle of non-aggression, learned from the humans he protected. Under his command, the Ossen will defend, but not attack. Thus it is that, after the neighboring Styx smelled weakness and instigated a war, an ambitious and rising Ossen military officer, Commander Rackus, finds himself tasked with the guarding of about 30 human ships, with a talon of only 7 escort destroyers. In his view, his carrier is on hold as he wastes time out here in the black, having tea with a bunch of damned pacifists. His shuttle docked with the Sauron, and Talon Commander Rackus was escorted to Advocate Ru'ul's day cabin, a lounge space with couches, a small conference table, and a desk. An emblem on the wall behind and above the desk showed a gloved human hand clutching a branch and green leaves. Rackus was no diplomat, and he couldn't quite suppress the reflexive scoff at the pithy slogan along the bottom of the emblem. Peace is our profession. Advocate Ru'ul, sitting in the side of the table, rather than at the desk, raised an eyebrow. Admiral Philip Plume speaks highly of your leadership and the willingness of your people to follow you. The question is, to follow you where?
Save your peace is the only past speech for someone else, Rackus replied, ignoring the proffered cup of tea. I am a warrior. I seek honor in combat.
There is no honor in killing, only in saving. When you lead your people in the defense of those who cannot defend themselves, only then does the warrior warrant the honor you seek.
What do you know of war, pacifist?
Rackus scoffed back. Advocate Ru'ul set his own teacup down and said, You think us weak. But how long would near-Earth have been at peace if we were weak? Pacifism is a luxury only the strong can afford. Walk with me. He then led Rackus deep into the ship. The massive round room that Commander Rackus found himself in erased in an instant any notion that he was in a mere freighter. The room had a subdued lighting. All around the edge, humans sat in multi-screen consoles, wearing headsets and communicating in quiet murmurs. The screen showed tactical maps, alphanumeric data, and graphs that meant nothing to Rackus. The scale became apparent when Rackus realized that, nestled in the depression in the center of the room, there was an exact replica of the entire Combat Information Center on his own flagship, the Helix. He carefully walked down the ramp to it, followed by Advocate Ru'ul. Turning, he said,
What is this place?
This is the Sauron's Battle Space Management Center, or, as we call it, the Rig. From here, we integrate all of the sensor information from every ship in the fleet, including ships of your talon, as well as ships beyond sensor range of the convoy, and certain other assets. From here, we command the Wraiths, small short-range fighters that are so stealthy that even we can't track them. Instead, we plot their assumed position by dead reckoning and our confidence in their operators' ability to follow orders. Do you see the blue diamonds on that tactical screen over there? Dozens of wraiths have launched from our carriers. Bulk cargo freighters. The Denthor and the Galadriel, in anticipation of an attack on this convoy by the Strix Battle Wing. We are pacifists. From rings such as this, we pacify those who aspire to aggress. Around the inside of the ring, where the seating domed inward from the circle of human operators, Rackers noticed an inscription. One ring to guide our friends, one ring to watch the skies, one ring to track our foes, as each in the darkness dies. Looking again at the displays around the room, he asked, "What makes you expect an attack on the convoy? And with an entire battle wing, no less. Would the Strix not attack with just a raider or two?" Advocate Rule smirked. "We have an asset we call Schmeagol. Schmeagol's specialty is locating Strix intelligence assets inside Ocean space, and then whispering to those assets precious-sounding information that we want them to have. We are pacifists. We only defend ourselves. But we find it much easier to defend ourselves if we can control when and where the aggressor will choose to attack." Then, pointing to another tactical display, Advocate Rule said, "A deep space ranger, the Strider, confirmed the track and composition of the inbound Strix Battle Wing. 16 combat ships, including 3 heavy cruisers." Commander Rackus was aghast. "You've baited them into attacking us. I need to get back to my ship. How much time do we have?" "They'll be within sensor range of your ships in about 15 minutes. Then holy hell is going to erupt. It should be epic. You wanted to be a hero. Here's your chance. 7 against 16, protecting the convoy. You're insane. Tell me, Commander, how effective are your weapons at punching through the Strix energy shields? If we can swarm them from every side, we can wear them down, but when we are at numerical disadvantage, the Strix have the ability to transfer all shield projection to one side of the ship, making it almost impossible to punch through. Their cruisers will eat our destroyers for lunch." "And while they are enjoying lunch, Commander, their backsides are waving bare in the void. A wraith is small, but it's all weapon. 1 or 2 shots can take out an unshielded ship. You do not have time to get back to the Helix, but you can command your Talon just as well from our replica CIC. Better, because our tracks will be overlaid with your tracks, so you will be able to see where the wraiths are. Command your ships with confidence and enjoy watching your officers and crew experience extraordinary good luck." With those words, Advocate Raoul handed Commander Rackus a memory device, the kind used in hand-carry encrypted orders to the highest security. Commander Rackus plugged a memory element into his own pocket assistant and scrolled through the contents. "Authenticated orders from Admiral Philip Loom. I am to lead my Talon in defending the freighters while not divulging directly or indirectly to any of my officers or crew what I've seen on the Sauron today." Looking up at Advocate Rule, he said, "They will think it's a suicide mission, or to defend another species' freighters." Advocate Rule nodded. "Today we find out who has the courage, the discipline, and the honor to do what is right when right is at its hardest." Commander Rackus dropped angrily into the command chair in the mock CIC and growled at the humans occupying the other chairs where his own staff would typically be. "You send a broadcast to the Talon with my authorization. All ships are to beat to quarters. This is not a drill. Protect the freighters at all costs, and you get me separate direct channels to the CO on each ship. They are to stay in contact with me at all times." How could Admiral Philip Bloom have forced him into such a predicament? He could not abandon the convoy without ending his career and likely getting shot for desertion. But if the so-called wraiths that nobody could see were a human hoax, then his entire command would be wiped out. Admiral Philip Bloom was demanding an act of faith, a faith in a group of pacifists that Rackus despised. The commanding officers of the ship of the Talon, other than the Helix, simply followed the given orders and prepared for imminent violence, as they had been trained. But Captain Taras was currently sitting in the command chair in his own CIC, and therefore knew that Rackus was not sitting there. This resulted in quite a verbal dance as Rackus tried to assert that everything was under control, and no, he couldn't say where he was commanding from. If they survived the day, Rackus just knew the debrief was going to be diplomatic hell too. Fortunately, the Strix battle wing got within sensor range of the Talon, and Captain Taras got too busy not crapping his pants to engage in further annoying conversation. Strick's battle strategy is to try and engage the enemy one-on-one to gain maximum benefit from the directional shields. Ocean battle strategy is to swarm individual ships, moving from one to the next. So, it must have been very confusing for his captains, thought Captain Rackers, when he ordered maneuvers that seemed to play directly into the Strix's strategy, spreading out to form a thin line between the arriving Strix and the unarmed freighters of the convoy. Only Commander Rackers, sitting in Sauron's CRC, could see that two or more wraiths were lurking in the opposite side of each Strix ship from the defending Ocean destroyers. One after another, as the destroyers futilely fired their best shots into the Strix shields. The wraiths used those shields' energy dissipation plumes to cover their own fire against the Strix ship's exposed flanks. Watching the massacre unfold, Rackers tried to imagine what his people were feeling as, ship after ship, the Strix just popped. Time after time, the fatal explosion would begin aft near the Strix's ship's power plant and propagate forward, consuming the vessel in a rolling wave of fire. When the battle was over, every Ocean destroyer had taken at least some damage. Two of them, seriously enough that human freighters were moving in to help carry them through FTL to get them back home. But the Strix battle wing was no more. Only a lone auxiliary support ship survived, fleeing the carnage as fast as it could. The Helix took a few shots at it before Rackers ordered Captain Terrace to break off pursuit and return to the convoy. Commander Rackers could see that no wraiths were assisting in the attack. Rackers turned to Advocate Raoul and asked, "Why did we let the support ship go?" "As a pacifist, I could point out that it is only lightly armed and not a threat. However, the real reason is that somebody has to provide an eyewitness account, or Strix High Command will never accept that a single tenant of escort destroyers destroyed an entire battle wing." Commander Rackers replayed the battle in his head, imagining it as it would have looked to the captain of the surviving ship, a support ship standing well back from the battle itself. Its sensor recordings being the only surviving record. "This is not a battle, this was a theater. Strix High Command will pore over recordings of their ships exploding and drive themselves crazy, trying to find the presumed design flaw that isn't there." These pacifists were masters at misdirection. But he clenched his beak as he looked over at the incoming list of injured and dead amongst his tenant. Also the humans could preserve their mostly harvested image. Advocate Raoul, seeing where Rackers was looking, said, "This way helps to protect all of the Ocean. With the eyewitness report, the Strix will hesitate to attack any Ocean convoy in the future, regardless of whether there are any humans around or not." Rackers clenched his beak, turning to Raoul, and said, "I don't like you. I don't want to be your friend. But most of all, I don't want to be your enemy." Then, looking at the inscription inside the ring of Sauron, he said, "The Strix cannot fight an enemy they do not know that they are at war with. When enough Strix have in the darkness died, they too will see that peace is the only path. On that day, I'll call them enemy no longer." Advocate Raoul smiled. "I see that Admiral Philipplume is right to believe in you. Commander Rackers, let me be the first to congratulate you on your upcoming promotion into the ranks of the Ocean High Command." End of story. I'd greatly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Casper Arnholt, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.